I want to start out like we usually do and have a moment of silence for some of the members that we've lost this year. If everybody will have a moment of silence here. David Klaus, Mark Engelbretson, Barbara Leonardo, and James Knoll. Thank you. At this time, if he's here, Jim Steffner? Jim Steffner, we're changing things around a little, is going to make the Hall of Fame announcement.
Now, the Hall of Fame is the club's highest honor, and induction is reserved for those members who have contributed the most to the club and to the hobby as a whole. The Hall of Fame was incepted in 1998, and we have a total of 25 members that have been inducted. 5 of those members have passed away, but all members of the Hall of Fame are shown in the program that you received at registration, along with their biographies. I'd like to introduce the living members of the Hall of Fame now. Please hold your applause till we have them all up here. If they'd come up and stand over here to my left. Alan Anderson, Archie Black, Kerry Burke, Howard Hers, Belinda Hickson, Phil Jensen, Michael Knapp, Jim Cruz, Mark Leiterman, Alan Myers, Steve Pasalacqua, C.T. Rogers, Eric Rosenblum, Doug Sato, Dale Seymour, Mike Skelton, Wayne Thompson, Gene Trimble, Ernie Wielden, and myself. Okay, every year we run an election to see if we can induct another member. We start out with recommendations from the membership. From those recommendations, the Hall of Fame members have a nomination list. From that nomination list, we have an election ballot. And if it gets real close, we have a final runoff ballot. There was a lot of members recommended this year. Almost all of them made it through to the nomination ballot, and almost all of the ones that made the nomination ballot made it through to the election ballot. To be inducted, we needed a majority votes from the members of the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, this year, no one received a majority vote, so we have no induction for this year.
At this time, I'd like to introduce our special guest this evening. Sitting at this table, we have Jeff and Tammy Schumacher from the Mob Museum. At this table, we have Kenny Epstein, who is the chairman and president of... He's not? Well, I know Alex is here, but I thought... Oh. The guy that was sitting in this chair right here was Kenny Epstein. And we have, I'll save our keynote speaker for last, but at this time I would like to ask Alex Epstein, who's Executive Vice President of the El Cortez, who has done such a wonderful job promoting the new exhibit, Jackie Gone exhibit down there, and we're pleased to have her back this year.
Thank so much. I'm sorry my dad couldn't stick around. But it's so nice to be here again this year. I had so much fun speaking to you all last year. And it's really been a pleasure to see so many familiar faces here tonight, and also to really work with Neil and to work with Mike on putting together the Jackie Gone exhibit. For us, it was really such an honor that you all chose to help us recognize and honor Jackie Gone's legacy, who we lost this year. He really was a mentor to me and to my father, and obviously just left a lasting impact on the gaming industry, particularly in downtown Las Vegas. And I just really wanted to come here to thank you all for your support, and for those who chose to loan us some of your cherished items for our collection to recognize Jackie. We wanted to thank you. So please enjoy tonight. You're going to have a really interesting talk later on. But thank you all for coming and for helping Neil Cortez recognize Jackie.
At this time, I would like to introduce Jonathan Ullman, who's here with his wife, Joanne, and I think he's going to step up and say a few things. He's with the, he's actually the executive director and the CEO of the Mob Museum.
I also had the benefit of enjoying Kenny Epstein's conversation tonight, which should be in the Mob Museum, and we're gonna make sure that that happens. Thank you all for giving us the opportunity to come out here and talk this evening, and also get to know the members of the club better. If you have not been down to the Mob Museum yet, we're right downtown. We're very close to the El Cortez. We're in the historic former post office and federal courthouse on Stewart Avenue. I have free tickets for everybody here, so that there is really no reason for you not to come. When you come visit us, you'll see we have two new displays now. I'm sure you've all heard about our budding relationship with the Museum of Gaming History, and it is so important as we try to tell the story of organized crime in the United States and the impact that it's had on society. There's no way to talk about that without addressing all of the gaming institutions that organized crime was involved in. And those are, we all know many of the stories for Las Vegas in particular, but we also have in one of the new displays, we talk about illegal gaming operations that are really across the country. And we're really just starting to scratch the surface on how we can collaborate between our respective organizations, and think that there's an extremely bright future ahead for us. So thank you for those of you that have already participated in that, and the rest of you, please get on down to the museum and check us out. Thank you.
You said the magic word, free. This group likes free. At this time, I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker. We're very fortunate to have with us this evening Carl Benison. He is the Chief of Enforcement Division for the Nevada Gaming Control Board. So a little different tack. Instead of having a casino owner, we have somebody from the Nevada Gaming Control Board, and somehow Cruz knows him. I'm not sure that's a good recommendation, but anyway, Carl started in 1994 as an agent in the Reno office. As he worked through the ranks, he was appointed special agent in the Enforcement Division Investigations Section. He also worked directly with the chairman and the other appointed board members. In 2009, he was appointed deputy chief of the Gaming Control Board offices in Reno, Carson City, and Elko. In September 2013, he was promoted to Chief of Enforcement Division, the position that he now holds. He has a BA and an MBA from the University of Nevada, and he's a graduate of the FBI National Academy. It's my pleasure to introduce Carl Benison.
First of all, thanks to Jim Cruz for inviting me this evening. We don't go back a long ways, but he's bold and he doesn't hesitate to reach out and ask for favors. So yeah. I'm very happy to be here with the Casino Chip and Gaming Token Collectors Club and the other banquet attendees. It's really a privilege and an honor, and hopefully I can share some stories and answer some questions at the end for anything you're curious about. I want to start out by giving you a little background. This is a little bit dry, but I think it's important to know where the Enforcement Division fits in the regulatory picture for the state of Nevada, for those of you maybe not from the state or from other countries. So I'll start, and then specifically I'll talk about the Enforcement Division. In Nevada, we have both a Gaming Control Board and a Gaming Commission, both established in the 1950s. The Commission is the ultimate gaming authority and is comprised of 5 part-time governor-appointed members and a small support staff. The board is the full-time regulatory body headed by 3 full-time governor-appointed members, one of which is the chairman. Under these board members, we have 6 divisions. The Investigations Division, they're the ones that do all the pre-licensing. So these folks travel the world at the applicant's expense, by the way, and look into the backgrounds of key licensees, owners, anything like that, and they make the recommendation to the board for anybody being considered for licensure. Then we have the Tax and License Division. That's the important division that collects the money and issues the licenses, and they also conduct audits on our smaller casinos. Then we have an Audit Division, and self-explanatory, they conduct the audits, make sure revenue is being reported properly, and surprisingly, sometimes they find out we owe money back to the casinos, so that's a nice finding. The Technology Division, they do all the screening of the slot machines and everything else, so that what comes inbound as far as new slot machines, new technologies, they'll go ahead and review it and do the approvals. And recently we had a change in that because in Nevada we used to do all in-house laboratory work, and now we outsource. So majority of the work is outsourced. We still do the conceptual analysis and all that before it goes to the lab. We have an administrative division that supports all of us, and then lastly the enforcement division where I work. The Enforcement Division has 118 employees when fully staffed, approximately 90 of which are certified armed peace officers with arrest powers. These enforcement employees are distributed across the state and are based out of 5 offices: Las Vegas, Reno, Carson City, Elko, and Laughlin. And we answer and or respond to calls 24/7. So you could call anybody right now and they'll be out there helping you on your dispute. Enforcement's responsibilities include the enforcement of gaming law and regulation, which involves criminal investigations and regulatory inspections and investigations. Additionally, our responsibilities include making certain administrative approvals, such as chip and tokens, screening and conducting background investigations of gaming employees, nominating persons for the list of excluded persons, and handling disputes. So that was the dry portion. Now I'll try to color it up a little bit, but that kind of shows you where enforcement fits in the picture. After spending the first 19 years of my board career working in Northern Nevada, approximately 9 months ago I was promoted to the Chief of Enforcement, a position based in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is where I attended high school from 1979 to 1982. Yes, although I was not aware, that was the time when Rosenthal and others were still active in Vegas. I was too young at the time to frequent casinos, but I do have some lasting memories. My family attended some shows. Liberace and Siegfried and Roy come to mind. Also, since my dad is from Easton, Pennsylvania, Larry Holmes' hometown, we were fans and attended a number of his fights, to include Holmes Ali at Caesars and Holmes versus Cooney. I think we were the only Holmes fans at the Ali fight. After graduating high school in Las Vegas, I went up to Reno in January of 1983 to attend college. This happened to be a month after the MAPE shut down. I just missed it. Not being able to see the Mapes in operation was unfortunate because my mom and dad went there in 1964, months before I was born, after my dad had completed some training at Stead Air Force Base. It would have been nice to have seen the Mapes in operation. I believe my dad said while at the Mapes, he and my mom watched a late set of the Harry James Orchestra all by themselves. To this day, as much as I appreciate the size and innovative designs of the modern mega resorts, I also enjoy visiting the smaller, older places. Fortunately, during my college and through my early years with the board, casinos like Harold's Club and the Nevada Club were still open. So after various college jobs, including working as a valet parker at Circus Circus, graduating college, serving in the military, and flying civilian helicopters, I started with the board in 1994. My field training officer was an agent who started with the board in the late 70s. He had a lot of stories and experience, no doubt, in that time period. At the time, we still had electromechanical slot machines, which means in addition to arresting embezzlers and thieves, we were still dealing with slot cheats using slugs, light wands, and more sophisticated methods. Of course, we were also arresting table games cheats who were pinching and pressing wagers and pass posting, cheating methods that go on today. After getting a good flavor of the crimes of the day as a field agent, I was promoted and moved on to work in the Special Investigations section, which involved more in-depth and long-term investigations. I, along with my fellow agents, investigated illegal bookmaking operations, conducted surveillances, executed search warrants, and investigated some substantial regulatory violations cases. During that period, I was assigned the Black Book nomination case for John Mealy, a well-known slot and table games cheat, who was subsequently added to the list of excluded persons. The job has definitely changed over the years. The slots machines transitioned to ticket in, ticket out, which meant the slug and light wand cases mostly went away, replaced by Tito theft. Also, with the proliferation of rewards and player loyalty programs, criminals moved into that area too. The change continues, and last spring, the first licensed online poker site in Nevada was launched, and 2 more followed. It was a big move in that it kept the state at the forefront and competitive, but of course, from a regulatory and law enforcement perspective, this new area posed new challenges. We also recently approved the first interstate wide area progressive and entered into an interstate agreement with Delaware for online poker. So obviously, the interstate and online trends continue. One aspect of working at the board that is particularly enjoyable for me is interacting with law enforcement and regulators from across the nation and around the world. As an elder agency in the gaming regulator world, we get many requests for training and roundtable discussions. We've also put on a gaming academy several times a year that is open to other regulatory and law enforcement agencies. Our agents have traveled to many states and countries around the world to speak and or teach. We have also hosted many state and foreign visitors at our board offices. It is very interesting to see and learn about the different regulatory and gaming models. As an example, I was in Singapore last year. Comparatively, I think in Nevada, we are at one end of the spectrum as far as openness and accessibility of our gaming, and Singapore, with their tightly controlled casinos, only having 2, and also the fact that they charge admission to locals, they would be kind of on the other spectrum. And those are the things you pick up talking to regulators from other jurisdictions and representatives. Since I spent most of my career in northern Nevada, I have not had the opportunity to meet too many of the gaming families and iconic operators in Las Vegas. That changed tonight. I met Alex and Kenny, so that's a good thing. In the north, I was fortunate enough to interact with gaming operators like John Esquaga and the Caranos. I think the families and industry icons that add that certain flavor to Nevada gaming, which makes us unique. One of my responsibilities as chief is to sign chip approvals. I am the chairman's designee. I have signed countless approvals since I have been chief. We processed 540 last year and 829 in 2012. Some stand out mostly because of what I told you earlier about the shows and fights I attended during high school. Nostalgia is a powerful feeling because I had to smile when I was approving various denomination Britney Spears chips thinking back to seeing Liberace, and again when I was approving chips commemorating the Mayweather's last fight, thinking of Larry Holmes, Ali, and Cooney. Yesterday, for the first time since I've been chief, I went into our inner vault and examined our archived chips and tokens. I hate to brag, but I think my collection rivals some of yours. At least for Nevada casinos. So after an exciting career to date, I am now responsible for leading a division of grade agents, supervisors, and support staff who do excellent work on a daily basis. The pace of change seems to be accelerating due to technological innovation, pioneering ideas, and the continued expansion of gaming around the world, and the unending efforts to meet or exceed customers' ever-changing expectations. 9 months ago, I went from drinking from a garden hose as deputy chief in Northern Nevada to drinking from a fire hose as chief in Vegas. It is very busy, but I enjoy it. I work with sharp folks who make my job much easier than it would be otherwise. I have also had great support from the industry and local and federal law enforcement. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to serve as chief of enforcement. Thanks, and I welcome your questions.
We have a microphone set up right here, so anybody's got any questions, please step up to the microphone right there. I'm going to take the liberty and ask the first question myself. Okay. Kind of give us the Gaming Control Board's feeling about our club and what we do.
I'm stuck. No. Really, the only time the collectors are brought up is mostly with my staff that works with chip and token approval. So any questions that come in from any of you or the casinos regarding the distribution of new chips or anything are routed through my operations staff. And there are no negative feelings at all. All we do at the board is, actually what I push on my division is we want to be able to say yes instead of no, and we'll do everything to either say yes, help the industry towards a solution if they have some unique problem that they're trying to work through. Unfortunately, sometimes we do have to say no, but wherever possible, we want to help and not restrict.
How you doing? Joe Pavlik, the Creeper.
Hi, Joe.
Question, what's your most common call you get from a casino complaint-wise?
A lot of them are promotional related, at times. As far as just complaints, I mean, our typical call is usually a dispute or maybe an in custody or something like that we have to respond to. But on the complaint end, yeah, it might be promotional related or something like that, and usually. What do you mean by promotional? I don't understand. People can be complaining about their points or how their something was handled that's outside a dispute. A dispute is defined by a disagreement on amount that's owed, based on a gambling game. So a complaint would be kind of anything outside that there's no money in question. So.
My name is Bob Pardue. Just a question, obviously you're operating for the state of Nevada, and other states that have gambling have similar commissions and control boards. With corporate entities that have operations across the country and even internationally, if there's a dispute somewhere, say, Europe, Atlantic City, the Far East, etc., will you take that into account? Is Nevada sort of the gold standard of
yes.
looking at things? Okay. But how would you coordinate if there's a problem in some other jurisdiction? Does that spill over back to Nevada, or how does that work out?
As far as disputes go, each jurisdiction handles its own, but we work and we constantly discuss issues with other jurisdictions and if there is something that goes cross lines, like I mentioned in my talk that we just approved our first interstate wide area progressive for slots. So we had to kind of work through that and make sure everybody had an understanding of who was going to handle what, you know, if the servers are based here and the patron is there, how that all pans out. So that's worked out, and we're also entered into a compact with Delaware for online gaming. So that's another area that we had to work things out to make sure it was clear who handled what, and you know, especially on a criminal matter where you need jurisdiction and, you know, and look into it. But typically, you know, bricks and mortar casinos, wherever they are, the state will have something in place. Now, tribal gaming, sometimes the state regulator will compact with the tribe to handle disputes or even criminal in some cases, but rarely. So it really varies a lot across the nation how that's handled.
Hi, Charles Kaplan. Every once in a while you read in the papers about somebody who hit a jackpot only to learn that upon investigation it was a machine malfunction and they win nothing. So a couple of things come to mind. How do they determine it was a machine malfunction? And secondly, doesn't it then happen all the time on all the payouts, not just jackpots?
Good question. I can tell you, just in the 20 years I've been around, there's been a remarkable change in the technology in the machines. And when I started, you know, the slot disputes were way more common than they are now. They're easier to resolve due to the game recall and all the codes and everything that you can read. And you know, 9 times out of 10, the licensee can address it and explain it. A lot of times the licensee is doing everything right, but they're just not explaining it, or maybe the patron just wants a second opinion, so we get called in. But what happens on a very complicated slot dispute where there's a malfunction or something like that, if our agents can't figure it out on scene, we have a technology division, and those guys are engineers, and they'll come and pull boards or whatever they need to do to go do the analysis. And they'll not only work in our lab, they'll go to the manufacturer and try to figure that out. That's very rare, but it does happen. So malfunctions, you know, they do occur. There was a time period where I don't know the exact time frame, but machines, when they would go into tilt mode, the wheels would just lazily spin, and that caused a lot of confusion because sometimes they would stop on what looked like an alignment, and really once the malfunction was cleared, you know, the game would complete itself, and it would obviously, well, it could spin to a winner or it was not. But it's really an incomplete game. But so the manufacturers did a good job of either programming them so that they would still continue to lazily spin while they're in that mode, or at least not stop in a winning position to alleviate that confusion.
Howdy.
Howard Hers with Gaming Archaeology. Question I had, one of the contentious issues between the club and the enforcement division or the Gaming Control Board has frequently been the destruction of what we consider to be historically significant chips. And in my previous experience with Alan and Steve and other members of the board, the condition was always that if something's out of date, it should be destroyed. Would there be a consideration ever by the board that they might be willing to take historically significant fines and allow either a state agency of historical nature or even this club to maintain some samples of those chips for posterity?
I think if that was properly proposed in letter format, we'd be happy to look into it. And again, we try to work with any interested party that's trying to do something, and if there's a way that can be accommodated, it makes sense to set aside, you know, for a purpose like that.
Okay. Can I ask?
I just want to be clear. I'm not the chairman of the Gaming Control Board. You know, so.
I know. We won't quote you too much. There was one other question. I recall a very quick news item during the Sochi Olympics that the Gaming Control Board became involved in some issues regarding international betting on sports events. Is that correct?
I'll clarify that. Before the games, we entered into a memorandum of understanding with the International Olympic Committee. And I was actually the point of contact for the board. And what it did was gave us access to an international database, and anybody, any jurisdiction that was participating that saw any funny betting trends or anything like that could go ahead and input that information. So it was, you know, the Olympic Committee would be aware of some kind of issue that they needed to address. You know, so yes, we did participate. Currently, we don't allow Olympic wagering in Nevada. It was offered in the past, and it could be offered in the future, but it's just not right now.
Thank you.
Sure. And just back to your previous issue is, you know, the board has contributed, you know, to the State Museum and different things, cheating devices and different things like that. So, you know, we are supportive, and I know we have some ex-agents that are really supportive of those efforts to preserve for posterity.
You know, I'd like to thank you for many of the contributions you have made. They're of great significance, and I think a lot of people don't realize what you've done. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name's Larry Hollabaugh, and I'm from Reno.
Hi.
And, you know, there's a lot of people in this hobby that like to collect new chips as they come out. When a casino has a new issue, the collector chips, those sorts of things. And one of the things I do in Reno is I offer a new issue service. And so, you know, members of the club subscribe to my new issue service, and I try to get the new issues that come out. You know, a $5 chip, I'll sell it for $7.50. You know, I'm not going to get rich off of that, but it makes it possible for people to get chips out of areas where they can't easily travel and collect. I know there's a regulation that chips are only able to be used for gaming purposes. They can't be used as cash in the restaurants or for any other monetary purpose. But there's also this question of whether or not you can obtain chips at the cage, or whether you can only get them from the tables, if you can only buy in at the tables with the intent to play, or if you can buy in at the table knowing full well that you want a stack of chips to walk out the door with. There's a lot of casinos that are unclear on what the regulations are. They seem to change from time to time. Different gaming agents will get all gung-ho about going around and telling casinos that they can't sell chips from the cage, and then come back around and go, well, oh, it's okay, and things like this. This has been going on now for the last few years. Throughout all of this, some casinos continue to sell them freely at the cage and don't seem to have any problems. So I'm just curious what the real rule is, and if there's a way to apply it consistently in a manner to where collectors can, you know, we're not trying to steal something from the casino, you know, we're just collecting chips, and if there's a way that we can get them so that, you know.
Well, here's the conundrum is that, you know, when we approve a chip, even if it's commemorative, Britney Spears, that's a gaming instrument, and that's the reason why we're, you know, and I know your motivations as collectors, but as gaming regulators, that's what we're approving. That's the reason we're giving a casino permission to use them, and we expect them to be used for that purpose. Now, a lot of those questions you're talking about are beyond the reg, you know, so you talk about fluctuations in policy. You know, you're right, I circulate staff through there, chiefs change, different things like that, and there's a lot of gray area interpretation in there. But so it's just a matter of where we draw the line. You know, we do get requests like, you know, they want to give chips out for a conference. Well, that's not a gaming purpose, so we've denied that in the past. Now when you start getting down to details like how they're distributed out of the cage, I know some of the guidelines have been, you know, of course they can be provided, but they didn't want a dedicated window just pushing trays of the commemorative coins out. So, and I know different licensees have, you know, dealt with that in different ways. I mean, it actually isn't a reg violation, you know, for them to fill a chip tray with commemorative coins and push it to you. It's just that, you know, when it gets, you know, the pendulum swings, and if it gets to the point where we have to intercede or we get complaints from other parties about what's going on regarding these coins, it is really outside of the focus of the gaming operator. And even though, you know, they're the ones requesting the chips, and they of course want to accommodate you and let you have them, but you know, they too want to operate, you know, their gaming establishment, and that's the whole purpose. So I'm always willing to look at things, and as a matter of fact, in preparing for tonight, I fully expected that question, and you know, so I've been questioning my staff, and I've also questioned my staff in the north to see, you know, how they're answering these questions, because this isn't something you said that, you know, maybe in waves agents have gone out and enforced this, but really right now is where we come across it is we're just asked questions by various licensees, and
Sure.
we try to deal them on a case-by-case basis.
Right. Well,
So
part of the issue is that gaming wields an immense amount of power, and they can put a casino out of business. And there's a lot of operators that live in fear of gaming. They do not. If they don't know where the line is, then they're going to stay way back from it. You know.
yeah, and I, you know, I think there's hesitation because, you know, we're doing so many things. You know, do we want to try to itemize a list of do's and don'ts relative to
Sure.
these commemorative chips? You know, I don't think anybody's gone down that road, but I'm certainly willing to look at our current policies and make sure, you know, any guidance is reasonable. And usually where it's gray, we're only hitting on the fringes that are kind of extreme, like denying somebody that has a request that we think is way, you know, a little bit out of bounds.
Sure.
But
well, I know many years ago, there were some people that were maybe manipulating quantities for personal gain and things like that. And then other people that were complaining to gaming, like gaming really cared about who could get which chips, you know, and there was a time when gaming came down and says, hey, we're not in that business. You know, if the casino can make a little money on the side by chips walking, that's great. But when this starts to interfere with the business of gaming, then we don't need that.
The approval letters I signed, you know, the only guidance in there, the main thing that's in bold is, you know, you can't sell them for more than face value. So, yes. You know, we really would like to leave it up to the licensee on how they deal with and distribute it, as long as it's as a gaming instrument in the normal course of duty kind of thing. But we do take complaints, so, you know, if you come across something that's just you think is unreasonable or out of the norm, you know, we'll.
I mean, it would be good for the hobby if there was some policy that was stated consistently so that the operators here in Nevada knew what they could and couldn't do, and it was clear. Because, like I say, some casinos, I'm scared to name any specific names, but a major Las Vegas casino with a lot of commemorative chips was told last year, my understanding was they were told that they couldn't provide the chips from the cage anymore. And so they stopped a lot of fun for a lot of people of collecting that casino's chips.
Well, I can promise you this, is that I am going to conduct a review with my staff, because based on getting briefed up for tonight, I had a lot of questions, so we're going to revisit a lot of concerns along those lines.
Thank you.
Okay.
Dale Seymour, and it's more of a personal curiosity, but I'm wondering, do you track the probabilities on slot machines, each slot machines? Do you have a minimum? Do you have a minimum, like if I had a machine here at the South Point and wanted to get a return of 50%, would that be okay? Do you track any of that?
No, it's the casinos they have to pay at least 75%. So if we came across a machine like that would be a violation. But I can tell you, in my 20 years, I have never seen a machine anywhere near the bottom end of the requirement. So
could you tell us what the top machine is?
yeah. But you know, we do get a typical call when I was an agent was, I've been playing a machine all weekend and I haven't got any significant pays. So we'd come down there and we'd check the stats, and inevitably it'd be paying back 92% or something like that, or 93. You know, so you know, I think the casinos stay, you know, well within the way above the minimum required. So, but there is variation at the top end.
I've been losing out here for years. Can I complain about that?
Yeah, that'd be probably difficult to investigate.
Hi, Henry Bernard. This question is similar to the slot machine question, where it hit and didn't pay off, or the machine was broken or something. But this incident happened with Phil Ivey, poker player. He was playing baccarat, and he won around $11 million. And they found out that the way he won was that he was reading the back of the cards. He knew that certain cards and lines meant certain types of hands on the other side, and he picked that up. But those cards was distributed by the casino. And now I guess there's a lawsuit, and I was wondering, were you guys involved in that, or are you involved in that, and you're doing anything about that?
Yeah, I was asked if there's anything I'm uncomfortable talking about. It would be any ongoing investigations or anything of that nature. But I can tell you, equipment like dice, Keno balls, cards, those don't come through the board. So, you know, the way the regs are written is the obligations on the licensee to ensure that the equipment put out and you know, the balls put on the machine are fair and unbiased. And so, you know, they do their due diligence and they follow the internal controls and make sure that's all fair. Now, that's not to say, you know, nobody's ever manipulated a deck or marked it up. You know, those are things we investigate, and you know, everybody, casino operators, number one, want to, you know, make sure the games are fair, and they don't want to bring any kind of bad spotlight on the state. So they work towards that. But
thank you.
Yep.
You said you had a technical team. Do they work directly with the game manufacturers as they're programming code into their machines before they hit the floors, or do you guys see them after they're made and check them? Or?
No, the machines are made to our lab, and they check them up and run them through the cycles and make sure everything is...
So they go through and look at the code that's programmed?
Yeah, exactly. And just like that chip collection at my office, chip and tokens, if you go to the lab, they have file cabinets full of all the approved games and the EPROMs, and they keep them all.
So you see like the sample that they're getting ready to manufacture.
Yeah,
that.
and then there are teams that go out on a periodic basis checking machines in the field, and they hook up a laptop to the machines on the floor to verify that is an approved game, and we spot check the industry by doing that.
Thank you.
As everybody probably is aware, we always try to get our speaker a gift. We've done this from day one, and sometimes we get lucky and get something they like, and sometimes they don't care. Apparently, my high school graduation picture that I sent to Alex last year was inappropriate, and I want to apologize for that. But Carl, we decided that we'd make up a chip with the badge on it, your name at the bottom of it, and commemorative. There's 100 of them there for you to give to your friends, your fellow colleagues, and your family. But we were also smart enough to know that you'll never make it out of here with those 100 chips. So, if you look out there, I don't know how many people's here, but about every one of them has their own personal chip. So, we knew they'd want to trade with you, so we went and we made another 100 up, and for you to trade or whatever. And that being said, like to be the first. There's mine, and if you'd peel me one off there, I'd appreciate it. And if it's okay with you, if anybody wants to trade with Carl, he's got an extra 100. Bring up your chip. Okay. Yeah, there's 99 of them now. So thank you very much.
I just want to say thank you for having me. You're a first-class organization. I've been on your website, looked at your publications, everything. You really got your act together, and it's great. And hopefully I shared some information that was worthwhile, and I appreciate it.
Good evening. I have two awards. The first one I'd like to take care of is the Recruiter of the Year. It's been my pleasure for the last 6 years of handing these out. The recruiters that win this are the ones that are most active in bringing in new members, and new members are the lifeblood of our club. This year it was kind of interesting because we had a lot of single members, more than I've probably seen in the last 4 years, bring in new members. And the higher recruiters didn't have as many. That means that we've got a lot more of you out there bringing in more people, and it's greatly appreciated. Just keep up the good work. We'll help the club grow. And this year I'd like to present the Recruiter of the Year to, I've done this probably 3 or 4 times, Mr. Archie Black. The second award is the Susong Memorial Award. This is the 4th edition. We had 3 really great candidates. Mike, stand up. Doug, and Andy Hughes, who isn't here. Got a lot of votes, which was a great thing, and we appreciate it. We had more votes this year than we've had the last 2 years, and it was a very close vote. Susong Award represents recognizes the people that do the most to share the hobby, both online, through print, through any different ways. But they're the ones that are doing and working the hardest to share what we do and what we love with everyone else. This year, the winner is Mr. Smith. And he has his name on the eternal plaque, I guess it's what it's called, and then he also gets his award.
So I don't get to take this home?
Well, you can, but you want to ship it back? Set that down. This is your... Thank you, Steve. Thank you. And we really can't thank everyone enough for all the work. I think that if you haven't seen the display at the El Cortez, it's beautiful. If you haven't been to the Mob Museum, it's beautiful. Take the tickets, go. There's some very beautiful chips in there. It's a great display. The whole Mob Museum is fantastic, but these two guys have really done the best job of promoting this club and this hobby this year. That is just amazing. Thank you very much.
Okay, now I get to give out some more awards. Before I do a couple of awards I got to give out, I wanted to give some special thanks to some people. I'd like to thank our guest speaker as well as our guests from the Mob Museum and the El Cortez. I really appreciate them coming out and helping us out with our projects. I'd like to give a huge thank you to the two people in our club that made this happen the most, which will be Mike Quinlivan, who headed up the exhibit at the Mob Museum, and Neil Silverman, who headed up the exhibit at the El Cortez. Those were huge efforts. I also wanted to give thanks, a big, huge thanks to our outgoing board members this year. Steve Beto, who's leaving us as membership officer, and as well as Sheldon, who's leaving us as VP, but we've fortunately sucked Sheldon back into the mix. So thank you very much, both of you, for the great jobs over the years. Appreciate it. But the club received an award from the ANA for 25 years as a member, and I just noticed I kind of broke it over here when I was sitting down. So I'm going to accept this award on behalf of the club from the ANA as being a 25-year club member. The Harvey Fuller Magazine of the Year Article of the Year Award, and that award goes to Kevin Cook for the Vegas hotspot that broke all the rules. Unfortunately, Kevin's not here.
One mark, you said one mark.
Okay, and the second award is the Janice O'Neill Memorial Book of the Year Award. And Book of the Year this year goes to Al Moe for Vegas and the Mob. And someone told me they were going to accept this for him. Okay, so much for the people who weren't here that are getting the awards. Okay, every year I give out the President's Award, which are people who have gone above and beyond to help the club, years of continuous service, just a special award that we'd like to give for distinguished service for the club. I've got 2 award winners this year. It's getting harder and harder each year because there's so many people that do so much for the club, and it's so difficult each year to pick just 1 or 2 people. But this year, the first award I'd like to give to somebody who a lot of people in the club don't really know that well. I fortunately have known him for a long time because he happens to be a member of my local club in Houston. He's done outstanding work in the field of illegals, one of the biggest growing areas in our hobby today. He's done something unheard of, which is produce several guidebooks and not charge a penny for them, issue them for free. And that person is Ed Hertel. And I guess we can get it out of the plastic so we can. Thank you. Okay, our next award, or last award, is going to go to somebody who everybody knows.
done some outstanding work, probably the most visible person, most visible work in the hobby so far to date. He happens to be the, or was the headlining person in the Chip Guide, is currently the one of the co-chairs of the Museum of Gaming History, and that person would be Charles Kaplan. And that person is Charles Kaplan. You missed all the good stuff I said about you. What are the chances of that happening?
Before I close, is there anything else that anybody has this evening? I want to thank our guests. I hope everybody will go down to the El Cortez, see the exhibit, maybe spend a little money or stay down there. Yes, sir.
There's a slight change in the program booklet.
Okay.
The morning seminar is at 8:30. One spot in the book it says 9, one spot it says 8:30. It is at 8:30.
And it's Charles Chip guy.
Just the one seminar?
Yeah, just one change. 8:30. Just the guy with the 9.
Okay. Charles' seminar is at 8:30 instead of 9. But, and also the Mob Museum. You know, we've talked about a museum this club has for years and years, and a lot of people didn't believe it would happen. Well, it's happening. And it's because of these two groups that it is happening, and I hope you'll support them because they've certainly supported us. So please take advantage of that. Lastly, try to attend the seminars. People put in a lot of work on those seminars. I think you know, Charles, last time I heard we were up to, what, 125,000 scans? 131,500 scans on the museum chip guide. And so, I mean, that's unheard of. There's great seminars, and just as importantly, we have the business meeting on Saturday morning, I believe, and it's your one chance. If you've got a question, you got a problem, to address it to the board. They're there, and they're very responsive, so I encourage everybody to go to that meeting. And in case you all don't know it, and I gave my condolences or congratulations to Sheldon and Christine, they will be convention chairs next year. With that, we're adjourned.